Everything we do is going to be about winning. Okay, we're going to learn to do things the right way, and that's the only way we're going to do them. Because if it doesn't help us, we're not doing it, man. That's just as simple as it gets. Win the Super Bowl.
That's
I
good.
mean it too. You know, one of the things that the only reason you become a head coach in this league, in my opinion, is to win. That's it. That's the bottom line. If you do it for any other reason, you're wrong.
Hey, football fans. Welcome to the Washington Command Center. So, today I want to talk about our defense and how we can overcome our lack of linebacker depth and how that could lead to success with creative use of formations to shock and shut down our opponents in this new era of Washington football, an era where this proud franchise can once again command respect. And what better way to kick off this new era than subscribing here to the first, the real, the OG Washington Command Center, so you can find your way back to some of the most opinionated and ice-cold calculated takes on all things Washington Commanders. And while you're at it, ring that bell, hit that like button. It's free to do, and it means a lot. Sorry, guys, I've had some family issues. That's why I haven't, nothing serious, just, helping out some family members. I've been out of town for a while. That's why I haven't had a video out basically this last month. But I'm back now, back in the lab, trying to get these videos out. And, yeah, let's get into this one today. So, going into this offseason, myself and tons of other Washington fans were expecting the team to pay some attention to the linebacker core. But just like everyone else's assumption that, we'd be playing man coverage last year, because we signed William Jackson III, I think we've just been projecting and what we think the team should be doing and not paying attention to what Ron and Jack have been showing us. And I've heard a lot of fans refer to them as dinosaurs, but I think it might be us fans that are kind of stuck in the past, expecting like a more traditional 4-3 defense. We're expecting to see, 5-6 linebackers on the team, but since Ron has been here, we've been pretty much a base nickel team. And the first year, myself and, a lot of other people wrote it off as, a personnel necessity thing because of injuries. And, we didn't have enough good linebackers to get it done. So we kind of thought that was the reason for it. And last year, we went into the season with only 4 linebackers on the roster. So we kind of shifted it from, we don't have enough good enough linebackers to we just don't have enough linebackers, period. But again, I think it's just us projecting how we think it's supposed to be. And for a team that really likes to dump on old Dan Snyder for doing things his way, us fans sure seem to have strong opinions about how the football guy should run the football team. But that's for another day. So, there's no disputing that the modern NFL is a passing league. And I'm starting to slowly come to grips with the fact that my favorite position in football may just be growing extinct. In the modern NFL, teams are chasing these 220-pound linebackers that bridge the gap between coverage and run stopping. And it's leading to tons of players being viewed as busts. Maybe unfairly, just because what's expected of them is almost impossible. Be a downhill thumper, take on and defeat offensive linemen and blocks to stop the run. Oh yeah, but cover this 4-3 speedster coming out of the slot. And by the way, How about this jumbo wide receiver of a tight end coming out of the slot too? Take care of that too. There just aren't many humans that fit that mold. And that's where strategy comes in. And you change your approach and also your expectations of what you want out of that position. That's why nickel has become so popular. No linebacker in the NFL is going to cover those speedy slot guys as well as a speedy cornerback. And while a big athletic linebacker like Jamin Davis might be the perfect answer to these freak alien Kyle Pitts type tight ends, Ron and Jack like to split the difference with their Buffalo nickel. Using a safety that's usually sturdier than the cornerbacks and, to be able to stay upright and maneuver around these offensive linemen, but are more adept in coverage than linebackers in most cases. I think by now we all get the basic idea of what's going on here with the nickel and everything. We got to see how it worked out very well with Landon Collins last year. Even though he isn't particularly good in coverage as a safety, he's still better than almost any linebacker. And had there not been the injuries and the setbacks in other parts of the team, the other parts of the defense, before Landon kind of made that transition, I think our defense might have looked quite a bit more impressive overall. And with that in mind, putting my projections aside and just reading what Ron's showing us, you get the message that even if we sign another linebacker, it's just going to be a depth thing. It's not like we're looking for that third linebacker. We're just looking for a little depth if we do get one, but it doesn't even seem like that's that big of a deal to him. Now, what do I mean with this title, this five and dime come up thing? Am I just calling our defense cheap? No, I'm actually looking at the roster, and maybe I'm still projecting a little bit here, but Ron, being a guy that preaches position flex, this roster and the way Ron worked and played the players during OTAs with Ben St. Juste, Derek Forrest, Cam Curl, Khaleke Hudson, pretty much everyone getting a look at the nickel position, everybody getting tried out there. It seems to me like they're preparing the players for an almost positionless secondary, the dream. Something I had hoped for in the draft with getting a Jalen Petrie and a Daxton Hill. I thought that would have been crazy. But with Ben St. Juste showing his ability at outside corner last year, and then at the nickel position in OTAs, would it be that much of a stretch to see him drop back to a strong safety too? And with Derek Forrest playing both safety spots in college and now getting nickel time, and then Kendall Fuller having slot and outside corner and free safety ability, you got the rookie Percy Butler that played almost an even split between nickel, strong safety, and free safety in college. And then, of course, we got Cam Curl. His ability, he was a corner in college. Then he turned to a safety, and he has been an excellent nickel for us at times. Well, his rookie season, it was amazing. And anytime he's pretty much used in the nickel, he's awesome. And then he's also basically at times almost like a tight end or racing linebacker. So just all that versatility we have, and that leaves William Jackson III to man up on the best wide receiver while everybody else confuses the hell out of the quarterback. And I think even with our nickel as a base, we're going to see a lot more dime formations. So, the five and dime approach, we're going to have a lot of dime formations. While we might not be deep at corner, I think between Ben St. Just and our safeties, and the way Ron views the nickel as instead of being a slot corner, it's a safety, the Buffalo. I think there'll be a lot of times when putting our 11 best on the field means only having one linebacker out there. And I could see situations where we'll mix up Ben St. Just, Cam, McLean, Butler, and Forrest. Some mix of those guys. Any four of those guys at nickel, dime, strong, and free safety, while we see Fuller and William Jackson III playing outside. Hopefully Jamin Davis can get to a point where he's the linebacker that stays on the field with all his speed and ability. But Holcomb himself seems like he's getting better every year. And I'd actually feel pretty comfortable, with just Holcomb out there surrounded with Ben St. Just, Cam, and then McLean and Percy Butler behind him. That I think that would be tough to beat. And again, that all said, but this season, you know, even if we're moving away, or we're definitely a nickel-based team, but if we start playing more dime, like I think we will, just because of the way the team's constructed, we play a lot of like tough running teams this year. We have the Colts, Minnesota, Titans, the Browns, and even Philly in our division. And maybe you're thinking like I was. Taking those linebackers off the field might make us very weak against the run. That was the classic problem with the nickel. You take the linebackers off the field and they could run it down your throat. Well, outside the fact that Ron trending towards, the use of safeties with the Buffalo nickel helps to cover some of that weakness that, smaller cornerbacks, had before in the nickel and dime. That goes to cover that. But when I said in the title it's five and dime, I didn't mean nickel and dime. I said five and dime. And what I was talking about is the 5-down line formations that Ron and Jack have played with in the past few years. I think early downs, we're going to see a lot of situations, especially against those teams I mentioned, where we have 5 linemen on the field, and one less linebacker. Instead of an extra secondary person, we're going to have an extra down lineman against those teams. And some people were kind of worried. Fans were worried about the depth of our D-line since we lost Settle and Matt. But honestly, I think Bada, Rotimi, Wise, and even James Smith-Williams that had that inside-outside versatility showed that they were pretty much interchangeable with those guys last year. I don't feel like Matt or Tim showed us that they were any better than those guys in the time that they swapped in last year. I mean, I know that, after some of the years they've had previously, that sounds crazy. But as far as things went last year in this defense, the way it is, those guys did just as well. So I think the depth on our interior defensive line is good to go. And especially with bringing in Fedarian Mathis, I think he's a huge bump to it. And on the outside, I think Shaka Tony and James Smith-Williams showed that they're solid depth there too, with some actual upside. I think David Obata, or not Odafe Obata, I'm sorry, could help a bit, with that, while Fedarian Mathis is going to be a huge upgrade. I think we'll see some 5-man fronts this year where we'll have 3 defensive tackles with Allen, Payne flanking Mathis, who's going to be in the nose, with Chase and Sweat on the outside. Just 5 beefy dudes up front. I also think that slapping Shaka Tony on the outside of Chase or Montez's shoulder and, in a 5-man front and a bandit Sam linebacker, 3-4 outside linebacker type role where he can be blitzed or dropped into coverage will be another sneaky thing. And honestly, I'd hope to see that last year when they were talking about him moving to linebacker, along with seeing us toying with the 5-man fronts last year. I was hoping to see that too. But I think this is all stuff we could see this year, and why a linebacker isn't as important, because we're basically going to be switching back and forth early downs, having maybe an extra D lineman on the field, where passing downs we'll have more secondary people. I just don't think there's ever going to be a situation where we ever have 3 linebackers on the field now. And, top that off, I think there's going to be a lot of times where there's only 1 linebacker on the field, a lot more than last year. And basically, this video was my very long-winded way to kind of dispel some of the worry with our linebacker position, and things that with things that Ron's already shown, that give us an idea of why they aren't stressing linebackers much as we are. And honestly, our team is built to use those formations in a way that helps our defense be less predictable, and it could really help us win games. That, along with how explosive I think the offense is going to be against a very favorable schedule, could really help us kick off this new era of Washington football with the kind of success that shuts up the naysayers and lets this once proud franchise once again command respect. Once again, no better way to kick off this new era than subscribing here to the Washington Command Center for the most opinionated and ice-cold calculated takes on all things Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that like button, leave a comment below, and if you watch this long, I love y'all. Peace.